If we look at the sources of essential fats, primary sources of omega-6s are seeds. Seeds like sunflower and safflower and grape and pumpkin and hemp seeds, poppy seeds, walnuts, corn, soy, grains, and wheat germ. All sources of omega-6s. Now the omega-3s, also primary sources, seeds. Now you can see the seeds and the foods that I've highlighted in sort of orange color there are in both groups because many foods contain both the omega-6s and the omega-3s. But the different ones, for example, in the omega-3 side, flax seeds, canola seeds, legumes, greens rather than grains. So there's a little difference here. It's really a matter of balance. Yes, we need both, but we need a balance of the two. We need a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 of somewhere around 2:1 to 4:1 to optimize conversion so we can make those long-chain fatty acids. Most people consume 10 to 20 times more omega-6s than omega-3s. In other words, we're consuming too much omega-6, not enough omega-3, particularly in the vegetarian population. This imbalance may actually increase our risk of disease. It can increase a risk of a number of chronic diseases like cardiovascular diseases, certain types of cancer and diabetes, a number of neurological behavioral disorders like Alzheimer's and depression, even ADHD, a number of immune inflammatory disorders, because that's another thing about arachidonic acid. It increases inflammation. So things like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, for example. And it can also contribute to suboptimal infant development. The World Health Organization actually has recommendations for omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acid consumption. These are not meant for the vegetarian population, they're meant for the general population. So we may need to tweak it just a bit because the non-vegetarian population takes in direct sources of those big, long, physiologically active fats. Most vegetarians don't, okay? So 5 to 8% omega-6 and 1 to 2% omega-3. Practical pointers here. We want to make monos the primary dietary fat. This is much less significant if you're doing a really low-fat diet. Then it becomes pretty insignificant. But if you're doing a moderate fat diet, much more significant. We want to reduce omega-6s if they're excessive, and we want to increase omega-3s. We might also consider, in some cases, providing a direct source of the EPA and DHA, and I'll tell you how we do that. First, the monos. You know, one thing that I think it's really important to be clear on, we have absolutely zero requirement for refined oils. We don't need them at all. Why? Because all refined oils are extracted from whole foods. Okay? Refined oils are kind of like refined flour. We've removed most of what's of value in the plant before we make the oil. You're much better off eating an almond than eating almond oil. Okay? Because it comes packaged with phytochemicals and fiber and protein and carbohydrate, etc. So you're always better off eating the whole food. So most of your mono should come from nuts, avocados, olives, whole foods. If you do use concentrated fats and oils, you want to choose those that are mainly mono or primarily omega-3. So we're talking about extra virgin olive oil or organic canola oil primarily. You want to reduce your omega-6 fatty acids if they're excessive in the diet. The easiest way to do that is to eliminate concentrated oils that are rich in omega-6s, things like safflower, sunflower, grapeseed, corn oil, soy oil. Those oils shouldn't be used on a regular basis, even sesame seed oil. Most of these oils, like grapeseed and sesame, tend to be culinary oils. People use them in very tiny amounts. That's not such a big deal, but they just should never be primary oils if you're using concentrated oils. And we want to avoid foods that are made with primarily those oils as well. We've got to increase our intake of omega-3s in most cases. And you have to realize we do have to have a lid on how much we're consuming. There is, it's 1 to 2% of calories. That's not a huge amount. It's not that difficult to do. What we need is about 3 to 4 grams per day for most adults. And if we look at the amounts in various foods, flaxseed oil has about 8 grams per tablespoon. It's loaded. Hemp seed oil about 2.7. Walnuts, flax seeds, canola oil, leafy greens, wheat germ, all reasonable sources. Just want to mention, by far, if you're trying to get your balance back in order and you eat a lot of omega-6s, flax seeds are definitely the way to go. They have a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 of about 2.28 to 1. So they're primarily omega-3. And if you look at this little chart, you can see 57% of the fat in flax is omega-3.